Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help B2B companies with their sales and marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic, beyond automated cold email, and we do a lot of email, obviously, the future of B2B business development. So this came up on a podcast that I was on not that long ago, and I wish we would have dug into this a little bit deeper, to be honest, because I think it's a very interesting topic. Obviously, there is a very strong effort from the receiving ESPs, so Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, if you're on Rackspace, whatever for email, to block out cold email messages coming to your company or coming to companies, right? We know that the ESPs don't like it, and they're doing everything they can to eliminate it. But at the same time, they have to allow companies to be able to receive emails in general from people, right? And sometimes those are emails from people they've never received email from before, and they're legitimate emails. So how are they going to balance that, and what does this look like for the future? So I always think, as long as it's legal, I think there is a place for automated email when done correctly. Targeted list, and again, I dig into this in another video, but targeted list, you've got the formula. Targeted list, you're getting engagement. Obviously, you have to avoid spam marks, and you can't have repetition, so we get into spin taxing and all that stuff. I think when done correctly with a properly built targeted list, outreach to the right people, and with something where they have some level of consistent pain point, and you identify that in your email and you do copywriting correctly, that you're always going to get enough engagement that email is always going to be useful, and it's not an expensive thing to run on your own, right? So it is going to be very useful. It's the number one way we drive leads now for us and for our clients, without question. But the reality is that there's always a little bit of, concern that it's gonna implode at some point, right? And in some ways, it's always changing because the ESPs are trying to block things out. So what does business development look like if that happens, or if email is not a fit for you? Sometimes people come to me, and their prospect list size, when we build it, it's just not big enough for email, right? When we build email systems, we're building email systems to send 25,000 emails or more per month. And we don't really want to hit people more than once a month, because that's part of the whole engagement and lack of repetition thing. If we are hitting them in traditional sequence style, you're going to hit them too often and you're going to get marked as spam, and you're toast in the grand scheme of things anyway. So we don't really want to hit them more than once a month. Baseline structure is going to send 25,000 emails a month, 1,200 a day. So if somebody's prospect list size is very niche or narrow, thousands for sure, 5, 10,000, even 15, manualized outreach is always going to work. Again, if done correctly. Is there ROI in manualized outreach? Not always. Certainly that you could argue that in some sales organizations, I don't want the sales team whose base salaries are $90,000, $125,000, $150,000 doing ongoing cold outreach every day. There's no ROI in that. There's no way you can make that work. Now, enterprise companies can get away with it because they have such deep pockets and they can invest in the reps for the long haul. But as you go down in size of companies and revenue, they can't, small businesses cannot withstand $150,000 sales rep to begin with in most cases, much less having them do cold outreach for 6 or 12 months. It just doesn't ROI very well. So there's always going to be a place for manualized business development. Done correctly, we like to see 5 to 20 landed calls a day for a full-time BDR or sales rep doing full-time business development for a stretch. So they're going to have the conversations. If they make the effort and they're properly trained, they are going to get results. Is ROI going to be there? Always going to be there at some point. The question is, do you have to go into dedicated BDRs that are less expensive rather than sales reps to do that cold outreach, right? If your sales reps are just too expensive, it makes more sense to have dedicated BDRs, say SDRs, some people call them, to do that cold outreach. And then again, if budget's really tight, then you go into, remote international reps. We recruit Latin America very heavily. You go down to Latin America, you get one of the kids that's gone to college in the United States, gone back home. Salary only needs to be $750, $1,000, $1,250 a month USD. Now you can really make it work, right? And no matter what the business is, really. So it's always going to be there. It's always going to work. It just has to be done properly. Same thing with email, really. It's the same thing. Got to have a targeted prospect list. You've got to train the rep on the right process. they've got to make the effort, right? And that's where the assessment comes into play, and making sure they're hardwired for that business development process and work so that it fits their personality or their hardwiring. But if you have all that in place, it's always going to work, right? So I talked about in another video, the process, what it looks like. If email, no matter what you do, if email implodes in business B2B, there's always going to be a place for manual business development. Again, and it could be boots on the ground. You could have your sales reps do it. It may have to be that way for some of our clients. Certainly it is. They have their sales reps. They have a very narrow niche audience to go after, 500 or 1,000 in a territory. That rep's got to go visit those 500 or 1,000 and build their territory, build up their client base, right, or their customer base. But a lot of times business development is done now from the inside with reps on inside, whether they're in office or remote at home, or again, international remote reps or whatever. It'll always work. It'll always have its place. It's just got to be done correctly. You've got to make sure they're targeted. You've got to make sure your prospect list is good. You've got the process in place, and so on and so forth. And they make the effort, so they got to be built for it, right? As long as you have all that stuff in place, it's always going to work, right? So don't fret. If you're not into email or your audience is a little too narrow or whatever, business development manually will always work. As far as I see it, it's just a matter of building the right process, having the right targeted list, and following the process and the rep making the calls. Okay? All right. Best of luck, everybody. If you have any questions, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.